So, I'm streaming again. It's gonna be a boring stream for sure. It will be boring, that I can guarantee. But other than that, yeah, not much else is going on. I'm watching a video. I should probably show it to you as well. I shouldn't get a copyright strike for this one. I mean, as long as I comment. But then again, I'm playing a game here too, so it shouldn't be that big of a deal. So here's the video.
Upon leaving
I watched like 12 minutes of this, so.
military school,
Father grew older.
Donald would begin to surpass his brother Freddie.
As my father grew older, his personality became clear. He was sensitive. He was kind and generous. He liked hanging out with his friends who adored him. And maybe worst of all, he had interest outside of the family business. My grandfather understood none of that.
He wasn't a killer. His father told the boys to be killers, but Freddie was never a killer. He wasn't hyper-aggressive. He wasn't hyper-competitive.
My grandfather treated him so poorly, with such little respect, and made his life miserable. Donald was able to watch what my grandfather considered the mistakes that my dad made. He took that lesson to heart and became the killer, the tough guy, the person who would do anything in his power to be the winner, could never be wrong, could never admit a mistake, and avoided being kind because all of those things in my grandfather's universe spoke to an unforgivable weakness. And my grandfather finally started to see in him the son he wanted.
Donald would become the winner, assuming Freddie's place next to his father.
The older sister, Marianne, told me that Donald was like a hot wind at Fred Jr.'s back. He didn't quite throw him under the bus, to mix metaphors, but he was certainly right behind him. Donald was standing right there and ready to take over.
Do you think you have to have a killer instinct in order to be successful?
I think you have to have some, to a large extent, I think you do have to have at least a winning instinct. I think that the world is made up of people with either killer instincts or without killer instincts. And the people that seem to emerge are the people that are competitive and driven and with a certain instinct to win.
My grandfather shoved Donald's success in my dad's face a lot. And I think he found that difficult.
Fred Jr. left the family real estate business and became an airline pilot and an alcoholic.
My dad had just bought in hook, line, and sinker into the family's assessment of my father as an alcoholic failure who'd never accomplished anything, and their line about Donald as this extraordinary, self-made, brilliant businessman.
Donald told me that he and his father had perhaps been way too hard on him. They used to say to him, because he was an airline pilot, "What's the difference between what you do, Freddie, and driving a bus?"
At age 42, Fred Trump Jr. died of a heart attack.
You had a brother, Fred Jr.,
Right.
who died. Your brother was open, too vulnerable maybe, drank. Did this make you, I don't know, close up, keep it all inside?
I learned a lot of things from Fred, but I did learn for myself that I don't want to be open. I don't want to make myself vulnerable.
When Kamala Harris was 12, her mother moved the family to Montreal, Canada.
Her mom got passed over for a job that she thought she deserved. And so rather than sit around and brood about it, she got a job at McGill University up in Quebec. And so she packs her $2.
Ew, Quebec. Ew, nasty. Okay. Wait. My mic was turned off, right? And I said something. Anyways, what I said was, Donald is like the ultimate crybaby, right? He'll do nasty ass shit, be a very awful person, but when someone is when someone goes down to his level, he'll go ape shit, he'll go insane, he'll kill that person, right? He's a crybaby, to say the least. So yeah, let me just continue. Okay.
Daughters off.
Going to Montreal, Canada, it's all white predominantly, and you're having to make all new friends and figure your way out.
For her to be uprooted from her community, it's such a sensitive moment in anyone's upbringing. Experience her teenage years in a foreign place.
She kind of was
And in
always the
Quebec,
type
of
that
all
would
places.
embrace something, take it on, take it like a challenge, and battle it.
Wanda Kagan became Kamala's new best friend.
She made the best out of it, which is what she did with them coming to Quebec, which was French, and having to go to French school, and the cold weather. She talked about the life she left behind a lot. That was another commonality we had. My family was in America. That's actually what was so nice about our friendship, seeing how she and myself navigated ourselves to fit into that world of two different worlds and bridge the gap between them.
That was also a crucial part of her development because it was important to get out of her comfort zone. It was important to be in a new space.
I mean, she was in Quebec. She must be very resilient.
To have to rebuild sort of your sense of identity at that very, very pivotal age where you're still trying to understand who you are and what you believe. Now you have to figure it out. Now you have to say, well, what am I going to do? How am I going to operate?
Their friendship would play a crucial role in shaping Kamala's sense of purpose.
She used to bring lunches to school for me, and I'd get to have the lunches because I would be hungry sometimes. Yeah. I think it was those little kinds of things that she was able to pick up on, that there was something going on or something wrong in my home life. I was being abused at home, both physically and sexually, and I finally, she would tell me that what's wrong, and that I didn't see myself some days, and so once I was confronted with her out and out asking me, I decided to tell her that I was being molested and abused at home.
Jeez.
Her first reaction was, "How long have you been going through this, Wanda?" And then once I talked about it with her, then she was like, "Well, you're just gonna have to come and stay with us." I was really emotional and heartfelt when they said I could come and stay with them.
It's impossible not to be.
It wasn't just that I went to live with her. I mean, I just felt like I saw that passion and that compassion in her of basically she was like taking a stand and fighting for my rights back then, 40 years ago, to, you know, do what I wanted, to be able to do what I wanted with my body. She was a child too, 15, 16 years old, with such a powerful voice and fighting for what's right.
Even back then, Harris was thinking about how she could fight for people's rights, how she could fight for justice. Her career today goes back to sort of this moment that she had with her very close friend in Canada.
Donald Trump was his father's apprentice, heir to a multi-million-dollar real estate organization.
They had a vast empire in Queens and Brooklyn of residences and rental apartments. I mean, it was really quite an establishment.
But early on, there was a crisis.
There came a day in 1973 when the federal government sued Donald and Fred by name and their company for racial bias. This was one of the greatest racial bias cases of its time.
This was a particularly egregious case because the Trump organization had allegedly put large C's to connote people of color who were applying for apartments.
The government had him nailed. They had the Trump organization nailed. There were multiple Trump employees who confessed that they had been instructed to divert black applicants for apartments, to discourage them, to tell them that apartments had been rented when they hadn't been.
Donald Trump's regular lawyers tell him, settle it, just move on, do the right thing, do what you're supposed to do under the law. And Trump's not happy with that advice.
And he's still not the same. Never changed. Fucking asshole.
He wanted to fight back.
I mean, it's still the same. Yeah, not still very much the same.
He went looking for a new lawyer.
Of course, the same case. Holy shit, we're looking for a new lawyer. That's the same shit with Giuliani and the fucking Kraken woman. What was her name?
In Manhattan.
One of the places to see and be seen in Manhattan was called Le Club. Donald Trump walked in, and Roy Cohn was there holding court, as he often did. And Trump said, you know, I know about you. Can I ask you a question?
Roy Cohn had 20 years of being a really aggressive, no holds barred, go for the jugular, fight back. Anybody says something to you, throw it back at them guy. He was famous for that behavior.
And as legend has it, Donald stuck out his hand and introduced himself and said, my father is being sued by the Justice Department over this race discrimination. What should we do?
And he said, listen, I've spent 2 days with these establishment law firms about a case we have. It was a civil rights case or something, and they're all telling us, give up, do this, sign a decree, and all of that. He says, I followed your career, and you're a little bit crazy like I am, and you stand up to the establishment. Can I come see you? And I said, sure.
The establishment.
When they met, Roy said to him, you might be guilty, it doesn't matter. Go after the Justice Department. Don't ever admit guilt.
Fight it. You'll kill them. Just deny everything and fight. And Trump was totally taken by that, and he hired Roy Cohn as his lawyer.
That was a defining moment for Donald Trump. Donald Trump was on the rope.
Literal crybaby, literal
There's no doubt they had discriminated. There's no doubt there was wrongdoing. And yet, Roy Cohn showed him that you can turn around a situation just by ignoring the facts and going after your attacker. Trump countersued.
Okay, yeah, they're doing this essentially, but it's pretty clever too.
The Justice Department for $100 million.
I have never, nor has anyone in our organization ever, to the best of my knowledge, discriminated or shown bias in renting our apartments.
This is a classic example of where Trump begins to demonstrate something he talks about all the time today, which is he's a counterpuncher. So somebody comes out after him and says that he's done something nefarious and horrible, and he just goes back at them with all guns blazing. You know, boom, boom, boom. And admits nothing, never admit anything, never say you made a mistake, just keep coming.
His countersuit didn't work, and in fact, he did end up quietly settling out of court. But Roy went on the offensive and said, this is a victory. Trump was vindicated. He knew before anybody else did that the court of public opinion is often more important than a court of law. The lesson from Roy Cohn was, don't go the way the establishment does. Don't play by the rules.
Donald Trump learned a lot of things from Roy Cohn, but I think that you could kind of sum it up by saying that bullying works really well. If you punch back, most people withdraw and just look at what you can get away with.
For Donald Trump, Roy Cohn's playbook would become a guide to life, business, and politics.
A witch hunt, a horrible, horrible, disgusting witch hunt.
I did nothing wrong. We'd have a system that was rigged and disgusting. I did nothing wrong.
Cohn's approach to life that he conveys to Trump is you fight back, and you fight dirty if you have to. Trump articulates this.
And we fight like hell. And if you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country anymore.
If somebody attacks him, he attacks them back, he says, 10 times as hard. He's not about diplomacy, he's not about negotiation, he is all about the fight.
Back in the U.S., at Howard University, Kamala Harris would find a way to fight for what she believed in.
Howard is such an interesting place for someone who has Kamala Harris's background. We had people during that time who were not only from all 50 states, but different countries in the world. This was an entirely diverse place. Howard probably seemed like a very familiar place to her.
Howard University's in Washington, D.C. You would have not just had your cocoon and your incubator of Howard University, but you're also looking around at the city itself and seeing the seats of power that are literally in the same exact city.
I think the idea of being in Washington, D.C. was intoxicating. She interned at the Federal Trade Commission. She worked at the National Archives. And she was an intern for Senator Alan Cranston of California, whose seat she would later hold, like some 30 years later.
I loved going to the Capitol building every day that summer for work. It felt like the epicenter of change.
She was always interested in justice. And how would she have that impact to provide a broader justice? And I think that she found an avenue in the justice system. She wasn't going to be this I'm an activist and I just go out there and, tell people about justice. Protest alone, although important, is not what ultimately makes the difference.
At the sorority Alpha Kappa Alpha, Harris picked up lifelong skills for what was ahead.
Alpha Kappa Alpha, AKAs as they're known commonly, are known for being sort of the most prestigious of the sororities, the black sororities. Our womanhood was celebrated in Alpha Kappa Alpha. It was a celebration of women and their capability. It was enough just trying to be a black person in America in the 80s. Women were still being boxed out of a lot of opportunity and a lot of serious jobs. And so you had to come with extra credibility. You had to come with extra preparation.
Within that spirit of excellence, it was to bring your best every single day. So to bring your best, you get up and you get your mind right and you get all dressed up. We dressed at Howard University every day. Even if you wore jeans, you probably were wearing a pair of heels and you had on a very, dressy blouse. And Kamala wore pearls literally almost every day. That was her trademark.
She graduated with her own playbook and a direction.
She wanted to be a lawyer. This idea that she could correct the system from the inside, fight the power from the inside, from having a seat at the table.
She returned home to the Bay Area for law school and shocked her mother when she took a job as a prosecutor.
Growing up in the activist community, why would you want to be something that symbolizes oppression to our community? She wants to become a prosecutor. She wants to become the man. Her family was like, whoa.
She's becoming a prosecutor at a time when black communities are literally under siege. Specifically in Oakland and Alameda County in the 1980s, it is literally ground zero for the crack cocaine epidemic. You have tremendous amounts of violence in black communities. You have over-policing. So it was a controversial decision in her family and her community.
I had to defend my choice as one would a thesis. America has a deep and dark history of people using the power of the prosecutor as an instrument of injustice. I understood my community's wariness.
Ultimately, I think her argument was that, look, in order for us to change this system, we have to have people within it who are willing to open the doors, who are willing to listen, who are willing to sit at the table. And that's what she did.
Initially, for Donald Trump, working with his father, meant working across the river from Manhattan in Queens.
Queens was not the hip place to be. He was the kid who grew up as an outsider to where the real action was. And he was acutely aware of it.
And I think he's a kid who looked across the East River from Queens into Manhattan and said, that's where I want to be. I think it was like Oz to him.
He became determined to make a name for himself, to make his mark in Manhattan.
What drove anybody in that period of time in the 70s into Manhattan? It's the bright lights.
Alan Marcus would become Trump's longtime public relations advisor.
He was from Queens. Donald had crossed the line, tried to become more into society, if you will. He wanted to be an elite. He wanted to be part of that crowd in New York. He wanted to be part of the in crowd.
His first apartment was in a terrific building on the Upper East Side. And he had a Cadillac.
He got a limo with his name Trump on it.
The funny thing about saying that Donald went into Manhattan to make it on his own is that he went into Manhattan funded by a father who had $200 million in net worth in 1970. So there wasn't much struggle.
With his father's support, he built a luxury high-rise that could be seen all the way from Queens.
Trump Tower was what put him on the map. He had arrived, without a doubt. He was the most talked about developer in New York City.
He had his father's money and Roy Cohn's playbook.
When he built Trump Tower, he got a whopper tax abatement that was intended for poor areas of town. His building was built a block away from Tiffany's. That was an, deteriorating area of town? I don't think so. You can get away with almost everything. And Donald took that to heart. That's the only metric that counts.
The rules don't apply to him. Even the number of floors in Trump Tower is essentially a fraud. From the lower floors, he skips a bunch of numbers so that it has more floors than any other building of the same height. You go in the elevator. You can't go to the 7th, 8th, 9th, or 10th floor because they don't exist.
On opening night, Trump's salesmanship seemed to pay off.
And they had the fabulous opening. La creme de la creme of New York showed up for the opening of the Trump Tower. It was an amazing event. And it looked so glamorous with the waterfalls and everything. It was really magnificent. Donald was like a kid in the candy store. He was so excited. You know, you have dreams and aspirations and you hope they're going to turn out great, and then when they turn out and they're great, look how happy you are. It was just a monumental day for him.
Despite it all, he couldn't win over those he most wanted to impress.
The establishment of New York thought of Trump, if they thought of him at all, as a joke, as a vulgarian, as someone who was silly, who was just a vulgar builder.
When you talk to real estate moguls in New York, to this day, they disdain Donald Trump. They thought he was a guy interested in self-exposure and lacked humility and modesty.
He was considered loud and obnoxious and too self-centered and not someone who fit in. There is an old money elite in Manhattan that has never accepted Donald. This is where Donald's resentment of the elite comes from.
After more than a decade climbing the ranks as a prosecutor, Kamala Harris would make her move into politics, running for district attorney of San Francisco.
Back then, San Francisco was a boys' town. Boys run the city. And Kamala Harris was a biracial woman coming into a place where the dominant power was held by white men.
She's working her way up as a prosecutor, and Kamala Harris is driven to rise and run things all the way to the top and make a difference, not just behind a desk, but by leading.
She decided to run against an incumbent district attorney, a white man, Terrence Hallinan, whose nickname was K.O. He had boxed when he was young.
He wasn't just the DA for one term, he was political royalty. His father had run for president. He had served many terms as a supervisor. He was rumored to run for mayor. It was a big deal.
We did our first poll and she was at 6%, but she worked her butt off. She loved going and talking to people.
Hi, how are you? I'm running for district attorney. I hope to have your support.
There was no stone unturned.
We are talking to every voter we possibly can.
The coalition she put together is a very rare one in San Francisco. She had the rich people in Pacific Heights with folks in the Bayview, the black neighborhood, and then the Castro, the LGBTQ neighborhood. It's a very unusual triangle of power there. Because of who she is, how she grew up, the diversity of experiences she had, she does feel comfortable walking into any room.
She learned about politics from a powerful mentor, one she has tried not to talk about, Willie Brown.
Kamala Harris did have an intimate relationship with Willie Brown, former mayor of San Francisco, who was 30 years her senior and was a longtime Speaker of the California Assembly.
And he's a very charismatic person, very good sense of humor. They dated for a year and a half in the mid-90s.
Are you his daughter? No, I'm not.
Willie Brown was a political kingmaker in San Francisco. He introduced her to a lot of the donor class. He introduced her to a lot of people of power and really, was a mentor to her. That relationship played a huge role in widening the aperture of her career and where she would end up.
You should from now on address me as the mayor.
By the time she decided to run for district attorney of San Francisco, which was several years later, she describes that relationship to a reporter at the time as an albatross around her neck.
Her opponent kept accusing her of being the recipient of Willie Brown's favoritism.
She started gaining a little ground, and her opponents started bringing up Willie.
I mean, we're talking about $600,000. Why has Willie Brown gone out and helped her raise this tremendous amount of money? What is his interest in controlling the district attorney's office?
That issue comes from something very simple. If you're one woman running for office, the rules have been written by men for over 2,000 years, and you will have to work twice as hard, and you will be judged twice as harshly.
She says, I'm not going to engage in these attacks during the campaign. Voters don't want to hear about this stuff. She stands up behind Hallinan and says, I'm not going to be like Terrence Hallinan and talk about the lawyers in his office having sex on the desks. I'm not going to behave in that way and bring up these type of things. The room erupts in applause, and that kind of defanged it after that.
She won by 12%.
She was able to just not let
God damn, 12%.
it get to her. If you're able to take in the negativity and not let it affect you, that is your superpower. That is one of the secrets of her success.
For some people, the ultimate goal in life has been becoming the President of the United States. If you lost your fortune today, what would you do tomorrow?
Maybe I'd run for president. I don't know.
Trump is actively thinking about politics by the late 1980s. Oprah actually asked him, are you going to run for president someday?
And I know people have talked to you about whether or not you want to run. Would you ever?
Probably not, but I do get tired of seeing the country ripped off.
There's a sense in the back of his head that, if you want to prove to the Manhattanites that you made it, and they won't let you prove inside their world, well, what if you just become president of the whole country?
But you definitely are a political person, whether you run for office, by what everything that you say and do points in that direction.
You know what it is? I don't like being taken advantage of. Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, they're ripping off this country, and I don't like seeing it, and it shouldn't happen.
And we'll be back.
Which year this is? And then he bows down to the Saudis. That's fucking hilarious.
Not only does his ego get fed, he gets a nice note from Richard Nixon, who's...
Yeah, if his ego gets rubbed, He'll be very chipper.
Seen him on television.
Mrs. Nixon told me that you were great on the Donahue show.
He's a literal fucking
She predicts that whenever you decide to run for office, you will be a winner.
This is a very interesting nexus. Donald Trump's chief advisor throughout his political life is Roger Stone, who was a Nixon operative.
Roger Stone is all about pulling dirty tricks ever since he did so in the Nixon administration. He is like a carbon copy of Roy Cohn without the law degree.
Trump is larger than life. There's a certain electricity, a certain celebrity status that he has where you say, wow, this guy's really got it.
Roger Stone saw in Trump someone who had tremendous political possibility because Trump had this sort of natural connection as a marketing guy, as a showman, as someone who could appeal to a blue-collar worker, even though he was this purportedly super rich guy living on Fifth Avenue.
I think he understands that, you know, politics is show business for ugly people. In his case, he makes the transition like Reagan. He's a celebrity superstar in the business world, and the stature gap between him and all these kind of grubby career politicians is enormous.
Roger Stone is whispering in his ear. And when you whisper, you could do it to Donald Trump, you're going to get a receptive audience.
In 1987, Stone orchestrated a dress rehearsal 250 miles north of Manhattan in Portsmouth, New Hampshire.
Trump flies in his black helicopter.
The signs of power and opulence in place, Donald Trump's personal helicopter descended onto this small airfield.
And of course, the helicopter gets as much coverage as the speech because they've never seen a helicopter like this before. And it's a sellout. Trump has catapulted himself into a brand. He's a brash New York real estate guy, but he's beginning to cultivate a national following and a national celebrity.
What I want extreme competence. I want strength and extreme competence. And you need a combination of both, but I want strength and extreme competence at the helm of this country.
And a lot of what Trump says is a combination of what you get at the golf club in the locker room and what you get hanging out with blue-collar workers. And so Trump, in a sense, represents this interesting blend of the insights of the average business executive and the intuitive insights of the average working American.
We need strength. I mean, you think Gorbachev is tough. Think of this character, Khomeini. I mean, this son of a bitch is something like nobody's ever seen.
He's outspoken, stands for what he expresses, what he stands for.
Yeah. He does not like Iran, but he's very cozy with Russia. Yeah, the Nazis call him Zion Don. Some of them, not all of them. There are very few of them, but yeah, that's a funny nickname. But I don't approve of that nickname, by the way. I do not approve.
Made some sense.
He does not like, yeah, Iran. And neither do I.
So long. Thanks a lot, brother.
But before long, his name would be associated with something else. Scandal.
The unfolding saga of Trump versus
I mean, he keeps fucking cheating on his wives. Of course there'll be scandal.
Trump.
Wives, by the way.
The war took an interesting
And a model from Georgia cast as the other woman.
He had been cheating on his first wife, Ivana.
He cheated again too, and nobody gives a shit now.
South, there's rumor of another woman.
The greatest tabloid war that New York had seen in decades, complete with sexual details of relationships.
And then there were the business problems.
The swashbuckling real estate mogul is in a cash crunch.
The businesses never really did that well. He was a failure again and again and again, whether it was with his casino hotels in New Jersey, whether it was with the Plaza Hotel in New York. One project after another would end in failure.
Trump's casino business will file for bankruptcy next month.
Midas had lost his touch.
6 bankruptcies, stiffing contractors left and right, vendors suing him again and again. It is a litany of failure.
Trump's name once meant gold. Today it means trouble.
And then he's gonna get contacted by suspiciously accented totally not Russians.
District Attorney of the City and County of San Francisco.
Congratulations.
Having won the fight to become DA, Kamala Harris had big ambitions.
Yeah, I don't think he's compromised, but he could be. Who knows?
It was like our second day in the DA's office, and a prosecutor was talking with her about one of his cases, and it was a sex assault case, and he was like, well, you know, the victim is a teenage prostitute. And I'll never forget Kamala just stopping him and saying, like, I don't know, I've never met a teenage prostitute. I've met exploited kids, but I've never met a teenage prostitute. And one of the first things she did was change that for within our office, saying every time you charge a case, it is exploited youth, not teenage prostitute. She was trying to shift the powers of the criminal justice system to say the people that should really get punishment for that are the people perpetrating on these exploited youth. The victims in these crimes shouldn't be the ones going to jail.
But her aspirations would clash with power politics and the reality of the streets.
2 undercover San Francisco police officers asked a suspicious-looking man to take his hands out of his pockets. The man pulled out an AK-47 and fired at least 11 rounds, killing Officer Isaac Espinosa.
The experience of that police officer being shot and killed less than 4 months into her term as district attorney was a life-changing moment.
A suspect, 21-year-old David Hill, is in custody.
We are in mourning over the senseless killing of Officer Isaac Espinosa.
We had not had an officer killed in the line of duty in many, many years. You saw a lot of pain in the halls of justice. Again, no matter if it was a police officer or a court reporter or a judge, these are very small communities. And so, you know, it was just a very difficult chapter. Kamala was really hurting too. She's a member of law enforcement. She'd served alongside with SFPD.
The cops wanted District Attorney Harris to seek the death penalty. But Harris had made a campaign promise not to.
There was a lot of pressure on her to do the politically popular and expedient thing and to seek the death penalty against the killer. And she held her ground. She held on to her principle.
Harris waits a couple of days and then announces before Espinosa's funeral that she would not seek the death penalty.
I have been very clear that I am not seeking the death penalty as district attorney. It is the will, I believe, of a majority of people that the most severe crimes be met with the most severe consequences, and that life without possibility of parole is a severe consequence.
I mean, she's correct. Death would be too, I don't know, will be an exit essentially.
The DA, Kamala Harris, is determined to prosecute this.
Life without parole makes sense to me. I mean, if I really hated this like perpetrator, which, you know, he's like, he killed 2 cops with a fucking AK. And yeah, like, obviously, like, life without parole, that makes the most sense.
This as a life in prison case. Police plan to protest outside her office.
What the fuck do you mean, life in prison case? Is life in prison like fucking heaven or something? It's life in prison, in a U.S. prison, no less.
On Wednesday,
the city police chief was highly critical of this decision. The police unions and the police officers were incensed. She would go into the Hall of Justice, and if cops saw her, they would turn their back on her. She was being shunned, literally shunned.
The funeral comes. The church is packed. Hundreds and hundreds of uniformed San Francisco police officers. Senator Dianne Feinstein gets up to speak. And at that time, Senator Feinstein was the most powerful and influential figure in California politics. And she says, this is definitely a case where the death penalty should have been asked for. The entire church, filled with uniformed San Francisco police officers, stands up and roars their applause. Sitting in the church is Kamala Harris, just months into her new job. If you are a young person, new into your job, and someone who is at the top of their game comes in and basically calls you out in public, in front of all the people you have to work with, police officers, you can't imagine how gut-wrenching that would be.
Harris stood her ground, but it would shape her approach to politics going forward.
Ultimately, David Hill is convicted and sentenced to multiple life sentences. So he's never getting out of prison, but he's also not on death row. That's where she's sort of becoming known for being a little bit more cautious politically. Over the course of the next decade, you see her sort of back up and be a lot more deliberate when it comes to making decisions that could potentially come and haunt her down the road.
That really changed her trajectory as a prosecutor. She became more unwilling to cross law enforcement, to be more defensive of law enforcement in ways that really angered some progressives in California.
She forged alliances with the police. She increased her office's conviction rate from around 50% to over 70%. She threatened parents with jail if their kids missed too much school.
Her years as district attorney are the source of a lot of criticism that she's faced and continues to face from progressives who saw her as too punitive with some of her actions and policies that she pursued.
Nevertheless, she was beginning to get national attention.
This next story is featured in the issue of Newsweek on women leaders, and I had to tell you about it. If you live in San Francisco, you probably already know about this. Cheer on. Look at this.
With a 90% conviction rate, superstar prosecutor Kamala Harris believes it is her duty to mentor young women who dream of following in her footsteps.
My mother, who was a very strong influence in my life, always said, Kamala, you may be the first to do many things, but make sure you're not the last. I'm proud of creating a child assault unit dedicated to prosecuting those.
My friend calls me one day, and she says, Wanda, guess who's on Oprah? And I was like, who? And she's like, Kamala. And everyone was calling me because everybody knew I'd been trying to find her. And so I was like, oh my God, you mean I only had to Google my friend to find her? So I left a message, and my daughter, she's like, Mommy, telephone. And I was like, I'm in bed, I'm not getting out. And she's like, but it's your friend from Oprah. And I was like, oh my God, So I flew out of bed and I picked up the phone and I was like, oh my God, I didn't think you'd call back. I'm sure you got thousands of calls. She says, yeah, but you're not just anyone. She says, after everything I went through with you, it drove me to want to make change and do something for people like you that were out there. And I was like, oh my God, I've been looking for you to thank you for intervening at the most pivotal time of my life. And you're thanking me for, you know, being a catalyst in your career. Like it was very touching and moving. And ever since then, we've stayed, rekindled friendship like time stood still.
My name's Donald Trump, and I'm the largest real estate developer in New York. I own buildings all
Can you imagine you're Donald Trump and you've been creating yourself as the people's billionaire for 20 or 30 years, and someone comes along and says, I want you to play that role on TV once a week. This was a dream come true. I think Donald would have paid to get that gig.
And who will be?
But he was paid instead, bro.
The apprentice.
For 14 seasons, he is viewed in a perfect light.
Okay, folks, I'm really busy today, so we're gonna go quickly.
He's perfectly made up. He's perfectly coiffed. He's perfectly lit. He's in the high-back chair making tough decisions. What does he look like? He looks like a president.
No longer with us. You're fired. I have to say you're fired. And you're not gonna be thrown out, okay?
Thank you. On a script, sure, everybody's a genius.
Sorry to interrupt you. Jason, this is a tough one. You're fired.
People looked and said, wow, what a businessman. What a great manager. It's all a fantasy. It was all fiction. But people think it's real.
Because America's media literacy. That's the media literacy for you.
The Apprentice allowed him to tell his story on his own terms. I am a big, successful, huge developer. I'm a billionaire. He got to sell that image to America, and they bought it.
Donald Trump.
They loved it, and they couldn't get enough of it.
His
popularity was never higher, and he was literally, he could do no wrong at that stage. And I think that he realized, wow, if I've hit the high, let's take it to the, where can you go from there? I want to be president.
Billionaire Donald Trump has flirted with the White House before.
Reality TV show host, U.S. President.
Please welcome my friend, Donald Trump.
He would test the political waters again, seizing a divisive issue, a conspiracy theory about President Barack Obama.
Why doesn't he show his birth certificate? I think he probably
have to?
Because I have to, and everybody else has to.
I'm sure
Why
that you
wouldn't
can't.
he show?
The birther conspiracy, a racist theory that Obama was not born in America.
Why? Look, she's smiling. Why doesn't he show his birth certificate? And you know what?
I thought it was unhinged. I thought he was embarrassing himself. I thought that it was his way of saying, that's a black man, we don't want a black man.
He's remarkably shrewd and understanding that when he picks his fights, no matter how bad faith, no matter how objectively false the underlying claims are, he knows that the fight he is picking is one that is going to resonate with millions of people across the United States.
But there's something on that person, maybe religion, maybe it says he's a Muslim, I don't know. But I will tell you this, if he wasn't born in this country, it's one of the great scams of all time.
Absolutely.
He was gaining momentum. And then an invitation to a gathering of Washington's political elites.
We're talking about the White House Correspondents' Dinner. Tonight, it's an annual event right here in Washington.
Of fun together. Several Hollywood celebrities will also be in attendance.
Donald Trump has been invited as a guest of the Washington Post.
For Trump, it's a mark of respect. He's been invited by the Washington Post. He's there in his tuxedo. He's arrived in that sense. He's being taken seriously.
President Obama takes the microphone.
All right, everybody, please have a seat. Donald Trump is here tonight.
And proceeds to fillet Donald publicly.
No one is happier, no one is prouder to put this birth certificate matter to rest than the Donald. And that's because he can finally get back to focusing on the issues that matter. Like, did we fake the moon landing?
I was sitting 20 feet from him, and just the look of discomfort on his face.
What really happened in Roswell? And where are Biggie and Tupac?
That is such a painful moment for Donald Trump. At that dinner, you can feel the low-level hatred between the two men.
All kidding aside, obviously we all know about your credentials and breadth of experience.
And he's being treated like a piñata by the President of the United States. And I think he felt humiliated.
Say what you will about Mr. Trump, he certainly would bring some change to the White House. Let's see what we've got up there.
Being recognized even negatively beats being ignored. Obama, in a sense, was helping create the myth of Donald Trump. I mean, what other Republican had Obama attacking him?
I think that is the night that he resolves to run for president. I think that he is kind of motivated by it. Maybe I'll just run. Maybe I'll show them all.
Okay, that White House thing was pretty fucking funny. Actually did begin to pack. Oh man. Yeah, Obama was pretty charismatic. Anyways, and then America's nightmare happened. Got created over a fucking joke, bro.
Kamala Harris is already making history. She is the first female, the first African American, and the first Indian American to hold the position of California Attorney General.
After 2 terms as DA, she was elected as California's Attorney General.
We were on the top floor of the Department of Justice in Sacramento. The aisles are lined with the portraits of the previous AGs of the state. And as you walk down person after person, every single one of them was an old white guy. She was somebody that didn't look like most of her predecessors. And, I remember, the look that she gave me. She raised her eyebrows like that.
She's always been the first person to integrate this little boys club. As a woman and as a Black woman, being that first has to be incredibly lonely and has to be incredibly isolating. And I think maybe the way she dealt with that was to double down on her ambition and to say, I'm actually going to come out stronger.
Harris didn't emphasize her race or gender. Instead, she made headlines with popular issues, fighting big banks over mortgage fraud.
Attorney General Kamala Harris says nearly 2,500 people were misled and cheated.
For-profit colleges.
The lawsuit accuses Corinthian colleges of lying to students.
Big oil companies.
General Kamala Harris filed a lawsuit today against BP and ARCO claiming environmental violations.
But mindful of the blowback from her DA days, she also tried to avoid controversy.
There were a lot of people in California in the progressive community that wanted her to take more of a leading role in a number of issues, including the decriminalization, legalization of recreational marijuana. There were also some criminal justice reforms on the ballot, and she declined to take a position. She basically punted on those questions. And I think a lot of people saw that as a lack of courage. Those kinds of decisions that she made to not get involved or not go as far as some wanted her to, I'm sure are a remnant of what she went through as district attorney.
But the approach was working.
A trailblazer with an impressive past and a promising future. A Democrat to watch.
You've been called a rising star of the Democratic Party. What exactly does that mean?
I don't know, you have to ask them.
Kamala Harris, she's brilliant, she's smart, she doesn't look anything like anybody you ever see on Law and Order, yet she's tough and she's got a big future, and they call her the female Barack Obama.
Democrats had found a new star.
What do you think, female Obama?
There's only one Barack Obama, and thank God he's our president. Okay.
The term the female Obama was floating around out there. That's a talent Kamala Harris has always had, is a star power. People really believe in her and project a lot of hopes onto her. When you see a woman and a woman of color being able to win elections, that makes people think, wow, this is someone who can do it.
Thank you for joining me tonight, and you are invited back on the program to announce your presidential campaign in 2016 as soon as you are ready to make that announcement for 2016.
People are just excited by her political biography. There was always this sort of inevitable sense about her that she was moving on probably to the next thing.
The 2016 presidential race is underway. What's expected to be a very crowded race for the GOP nomination. More than a dozen GOP...
As Donald Trump had been preparing to run for president, he made an unexpected alliance.
Mr. Trump said to me, I don't like the way this country's going. He said, I'm thinking about running for president. He said, what do you think?
Trump had watched televangelist Pastor Paula White as she led a massive following of true believers.
Guess what?
televangelists, man. I swear to fucking God, they're vermin. Now, just imagine, right? Just imagine this. Hold on, let me just kill these fucking idiots. I know, I just feel like that. Anyways, just imagine this, right? This supposedly fucking spiritual, like, religious figure. No, it's not a figure, but like person who is, I guess, supposed to help people see the light or whatever. And this fucking vermin promotes the 3 times cheater, very likely child molester, and pretty much guaranteed sexual assault slash molester, and presenting this idiot, this moron who embodies the 7 deadly sins as some kind of a fucking messiah. Isn't that crazy? Like, they lost their minds already. They have already lost their minds. They were just looking for someone else who also lost his fucking mind.
She has a very substantial following. She's an attractive person and an articulate person. And Trump is very heavily shaped by television. He really likes television, and he...
Fucking televangelist. Like, the whole idea of televangelism is just so weird to me.
thinks in television terms.
Pastor Paula used television to become rich and powerful.
The principle I teach that find your passion in life and figure out a way to make money. Just
wow. Super cool advice, thank you.
Simply call that toll-free
and buy the CDs.
Number. Don't delay, don't wait.
Don't delay, don't
Trump
wait.
wanted her help.
Televangelist, but I swear to God, what the fuck?
Selling.
It's like this whole saga, this whole Trump saga. It feels like this is all a fiction. This is just like a comedy, not a comedy, a tragic comedy, like a satiric mockery. What is this shit? But it's real, it's all real.
Himself to evangelicals.
He called up. He said, Paula, he said, I'm going for it. I said, yes, sir. He said, I'll be president and you're going to be the faith director.
So today we pray for Donald Trump.
Yes.
We pray for his
What director? Faith director? Pray for this fucking imbecile. Bro doesn't even know a single verse in the Bible. Bro does not know a single verse.
Then I began to introduce him to people.
Because of your love of Donald Trump, the Lord bless you and keep you.
Yes. He knows that I don't play when it comes to things of God.
No, you do play.
I secure his children. I secure his calling and his mantle in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen.
Televangelists are always bad. Maybe not always, but mostly.
I tell him you wear a mantle that you don't fully understand. He receives that and takes that in. He trusts me. He trusts my voice. You see, I don't believe anything's coincidence. I believe there is such a thing as destiny. And I believe that God will raise up a man for such a time as this.
Trump was embraced by the crowds,
Like, this is just fucking awful. Like, you created a monster, lady.
telling them what they wanted to hear.
Donald?
How could Christians be convinced by this orange retard? Like, I'm making some parallels with Turkey, right? Imagine if Erdogan cheated on his wife 3 times with, like, shit's fucking wild.
The next president of the United States, Donald J. Trump.
We love you, God, they never changed. Always imbeciles.
This campaign is about giving a voice to those who don't have one. I am your voice. I am your voice.
This movement's been there, and it was looking for the right leader to say, we matter. The wood was out there drying and drying and drying. It was just waiting for the right person to throw the match in and then lead the fire in the right direction, and that's what Donald Trump did.
He speaks for the people. Things he's saying, I've been saying for years. When he wins, we all win.
This previous guy, the former campaign strategist, right? This guy's correct. Trump was a, yeah. Trump wasn't made in a vacuum. I mean, what we know as Trump right now. People were yearning for some fucking imbecile like this. He's correct. Like, just look at, let me pull up the clip actually.
What Donald Trump.
I'm gonna be Jamie. Let me pull up the clip. McCain defends Obama. This clip is very key here. Like, look at the boos here.
We're scared. We're scared of an Obama presidency, and I'll tell you why. I'm concerned about someone that cohorts with domestic terrorists such as Ayers.
I have to tell you, he is a decent person and a person that you do not have to be scared as President of the United States. Now, I just
listen to the boos. This was already coming. They were just looking for their Antichrist to worship. That's it. You could have agreed and instilled fear, exactly. Yeah, John McCain. May he rest in peace.
Father grew older. His personality became clear. He was sensitive. He was kind and generous. He liked hanging out with his friends who adored him.
Such a time as this.
To the excess.
And so I'm going to build hatred for people love to hate.
Be carried. I love
a massive base and would cement their devotion with fiery rhetoric.
There's a guy totally disruptive, throwing punches. I love the old days. You know what they used to do to guys like that when they were in a place like this? They'd be carried out on.
I'm going to build hatred for immigration, to hate. And so I'm going to build hatred for immigration.
Build a wall. Build a wall.
And says, these people are rapists.
When Mexico sends its people, they're bringing crime, they're rapists.
Donald's very comfortable with that. And his people were still there, they still followed him.
They say, I have the most loyal people. Did you ever see that? Where I could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody, and I... wouldn't lose any voters, okay? It's like incredible.
From the Fifth Avenue comment to the Access Hollywood moment.
You can do anything.
Whatever you want.
Grab him by the... I can do anything.
Every time people try to hold him to account,
Donald Trump caught on tape in his own words, vulgar words, boasting about being able to grab women by their genitals.
Every time people try to impose consequences on him.
In the audio, you can hear Trump talk about a married woman he tried to have sex with, and how he behaves with women that he's attracted to.
That deepens the support that he gets from his base, because it says to the public, this guy is taking the arrows for you, and when he stands up for himself, he's fighting for you.
In 2016, Kamala Harris was making her first run on the national stage for the United States Senate.
She was very quick to jump into the race. It was kind of a clear move for her. It had been many years since a Republican won a statewide election in California, so it was probably going to be a safe seat for Democrats.
And on election night, she waited for the returns with her oldest friends and family.
Kamala had hosted a family dinner, just her close friends and family. In the room where we were eating, there were the TV monitors up, so we can also see the presidential, votes coming in.
We're closing in on our first chance to make projections in the presidential race. Americans now choosing whether to elect.
We were at this dinner, and I'll never forget, the Associated Press declared her the winner at like 3 after 8. Then the other results started coming in, and it started to emerge that, we might be dealing with the Trump presidency.
Right now, he is ahead of Hillary Clinton. He has 167.
She is in profound trouble right now in the Electoral College.
We were all sort of watching our phones to see which, had Arizona.
Like, Electoral College is not fucking democracy. It's fucking hilarious. Actually, people actually think this is that is a form of democracy. It's not. Like, imagine the popular candidate not winning, right? Because of some fucking stupid states. But then they won't care about the states. But then they won't care about any other fucking state apart from the battleground states. What's your fucking point, retard? Electoral College is a disgusting fucking system. And it possibly ruined America. Or at least left a mark on it. A stain, I would say. Or a wound. Wound is a better term.
Been called, had text.
Like, and then Americans pretend to be like, I mean, I like America, it's just, goddamn, it's so stupid.
Has been called. It was truly a night of two different experiences.
Donald Trump has won the state of Wisconsin, and there goes her blue wall.
Donald Trump has won the state of Pennsylvania.
That is the race, frankly.
President Trump may be something that everybody needs to get used to.
In that moment, it sort of dawns on her that she is going to go to Washington for the first time to represent California under a Donald Trump White House, who stands against pretty much everything she stands for.
We get over to the campaign where the party was. Some people are crying. It is a despondent crowd. There was a speech that we had crafted, and she just tore it up. She just tore it up and was like, I'm just gonna go out there and talk with people.
So, here's the deal, guys. It's gonna be a long night. It's gonna be a long night.
I have always perceived that in times of
real crisis and hard moments, like she always, that's sort of when she is at her absolute best.
We know that we have a task in front of us. We know the stakes are high. When we have been attacked and when our ideals and fundamental values are being attacked, do we retreat or do we fight? I say we fight.
She knew the assignment, as I think the kids like to say. Like she knew that she was walking into a room that needed a leader.
I intend to fight. I intend to fight for Black Lives Matters. I intend to fight for truth and transparency and trust. I intend to fight. I intend to fight for a woman's access to health care and reproductive health rights. I intend to fight against...
It goes back to the words she's hearing as she's in the stroller. We're going to fight for justice. We're going to fight for civil rights.
I believe we're at an inflection point. I believe we are at a place that is similar to that place in time when my parents met when they were graduate students at UC Berkeley in the 60s and active in the civil rights movement.
That strain is in her here. That's her progressive side melding with her prosecutorial side. We fight, and when she's in fight mode, she's at her best.
Do not despair. Do not be overwhelmed. Do not throw up our hands when it is time to roll up our sleeves and fight for who we are.
Donald Trump goes from being the candidate to the leader.
A textbook case of disruption coming to Washington.
Donald Trump had won the biggest contest of them all, the presidency.
He looks at the presidency as a show. Remember, he was the host of a reality show for 14 years. He even says that to his aides. Think of every day as another half-hour episode in this show. So how do we get attention?
Now arrives the hour of action.
Chaos, confusion, and anger growing in the wake of President Trump's immigration ban.
Stops all entry from some predominantly Muslim nations.
We want our country to be a sanctuary for law-abiding Americans, not criminal aliens.
The growing outrage over families being separated at the border.
Showcasing unbelievable cruelty on the part of the U.S. government.
To me, it just felt like continuing chaos.
North Korea will be met with fire and fury, like the world.
Yeah, the fire and fury of Kim Jong-un's cock going into this orange retard's asshole.
Has never seen.
There was no effort to say what are the priorities here, and I think he makes decisions quickly and can change them very quickly too, and sometimes to be 180 degrees of what he had decided just a few hours before.
That you may have
I'm not concerned about anything with the Russian investigation because it's a hoax. That's enough. Put down the mic.
Mr. President, are you worried about indictments coming down?
You see the same tools that he's always used to defend himself,
Russian collusion. Give me a break.
which is go on the attack the investigator.
Okay, Trump forgot to kiss his feet here. What a moron. You gotta kiss his feet, you dumb fuck. That's what you were ordered to do.
President Trump now facing outrage after firing Comey.
I did you a great favor when I fired this guy.
It's very much the Roy Cohn message, just counterpunch no matter what. I mean, and from the start, he always hits as hard as he possibly can and harder than he's been hit if he can.
Jews will not replace mayhem in Charlottesville.
But you also had people that were very fine people on both sides.
I see Charlottesville as very much of a piece with his lunge into the birtherism nonsense about Obama.
I think there's blame on both sides, and I have no doubt about it, and you don't have any doubt about it either.
It's a way of using race to cement his relationship with his base.
What he's trying to do is make America hate again.
It happens over and over again where people say, oh my gosh, this is it. No president can survive this. Quite the opposite. Donald Trump will prove at this moment and many others to come that nothing defeats him.
Dramatic end to a nearly 5-month war with Democrats. President Trump has been acquitted in his impeachment trial.
Impeachment is finally over. President Trump acquitted by U.S. Senate.
Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. Thank you very much.
It was a presidency marked by constant fighting to control the Republican Party, transform the Supreme Court, and hold on to power.
By February of 2020, you see Trump's popularity skyrocket. We come into a poll, I show him the Oval, and he was winning in a landslide. He had a battle map that no one had seen since Reagan. That is February of 2020. And I remember going home that night and seeing the pictures coming out of China and Italy and other places of COVID.
The growing worries and response to the deadly coronavirus.
Wuhan, China, that's the epicenter of this.
3 cities now under lockdown in China.
And I started scratching my head, and I was like, this thing could take all of this down.
Trump would fight COVID the Trump way.
He immediately turned to what he knew best, which is the rules of Trump, the way he's always done business. So he puts himself at the center.
President Trump taking to the White House briefing room, surrounded by his
daily briefings.
We're ready for it. It is what it is. We're ready for it. You have 15 people, and the 15 within a couple of days is going to be down to close to 0.
What he learned in terms of coping with his parents, what he learned in New York real estate, what he learned from Roy Cohn is I can manufacture and get a very large people to believe my truth.
We have done an incredible job. We're going to continue. It's going to disappear. One day it's like a miracle. It will disappear. And we're prepared and we're doing a great job with it. And it will go away. Just stay calm. And again, this is going away. This is going away. I think we're going to
But this is a crisis that his 45, 50-year skill set, the Roy Cohn playbook, doesn't work with this crisis because it's scientific. It's fact-based science.
What do you say to Americans who are upset with you over the way you downplayed this crisis over the last couple of months? What do you say to Americans who believe that you got this wrong?
And I do want them to stay calm, and we are doing a great job. If you look at those individual statements, they're all true. Stay calm. It will go away. You know it is going away, and it will go away, and we're going to have a great victory.
I knew it was really bad. Within a few months, his polling was in the bucket. My last throw myself onto the hot coals was, we're losing, and we're losing because of how we're handling COVID. We were wrong on our framing of what we were doing on COVID. The on-stage presentations from Trump were being wrong. And if the election's held today, we'd lose. And he didn't like hearing that. He got very upset with me. That was the last time I ever was in the Oval Office.
His reaction to COVID totally fits his playbook for all the other crises that he not only waged and waded through, but triumphed over. It's just that this one is so undeniable. People are dying.
What do you say to Americans who are watching you right now who are scared?
I say that you're a terrible reporter. That's what I say.
Man-child. Fucking man-child.
I think it's a very nasty question, and I think it's a very...
If you don't kiss this dumbass's ass, he just kicks you out. And this fucking idiot was like just the president of the United States. What a joke. And Pence, man. Pence didn't kiss his ass either. Rip. Ripperoonie.
Mother grew older.
And
aged one is
watching you right now.
American people.
Mother grew older. His
Look at those individual
stage presentations from Trump were being wrong.
Reporter. A very bad.
Trump's playbook had become a liability.
I think that his presidency ended with those briefings, frankly. Had he turned COVID fully over to experts, people were especially willing to give you the benefit of the doubt during that kind of an emergency and tragedy, that he would have been reelected. Did you have any communication with any Russian businessmen or any Russian nationals?
I don't believe I had any conversation with a Russian.
The Senate confirmation hearings of Donald Trump's cabinet members in 2017 is a moment where we really get to see that fight that she promised on election night in practice.
So I need to be correct as best I can.
I do want you to be
and
honest.
I'm not able to be rushed this fast. It makes me nervous.
Are you aware of
the skills of being a prosecutor come out in a way that make it a huge asset to her when she's on the national stage and she's grilling Jeff Sessions or she's grilling Brett Kavanaugh?
Can you think of any laws that give government the power to make decisions about the male body?
To see her wearing out those witnesses as a woman of color and as someone who's sat through a lot of hearings, it was energizing. It was encouraging.
I would like to know the person you're thinking of, because what if there's
I think you're thinking of someone and you don't want to tell us.
She was Kamala the prosecutor, asking the tough questions, knocking you off balance.
Did you watch Dr. Ford's testimony?
I did not. I plan
Thank you.
to. I plan
Thank
to.
you.
I plan to, but I did not.
That's part of what propelled her to national recognition during her time in the Senate.
Attorney General Barr, has the president or anyone at the White House ever asked or suggested that you open an investigation of anyone?
I wouldn't,
Yes or no?
they have not asked me to open an investigation, but.
Perhaps they've suggested?
I don't know, I wouldn't say suggest.
Hinted?
I don't know.
Inferred? You don't know? Okay.
She really hit cult status at that point, and people rallied around her, became enthusiastic about her, and it really sort of set the stage for her future run.
She became convinced that 2020 was her one window to run for president. I mean, for a junior senator who had been in Washington for all of a year and a half, that's remarkable.
She was in a field of 20 Democratic candidates. At the first debate, she went right on the attack.
And I'm going to now direct this at Vice President Biden. I do not believe you are a racist. And I agree with you.
Joe Biden was the heir apparent, and she went for the leading contender. And of course, that's something that she learned in San Francisco, you know, elbowing your way to the top.
But I also believe, and it's personal, and I was actually it was hurtful to hear you talk about the reputations of two United States senators who built their reputations and career on the segregation of race in this country.
It's a political opening, and she uses it. A lot of Democrats are very upset by this. They feel like, okay, it's one thing to go after somebody for policy, but to go after what's basically his integrity, that's really upsetting to a lot of Democrats who feel like, no, the main target here has to be Trump. We can't be going after each other in these kind of personal terms.
You also worked with them to oppose busing. And, you know, there was a little girl in California who was part of the second class to integrate her public schools. And she was bused to school every day. And that little girl was me.
I was like, wow, that's a pretty good takedown. It certainly hurt him, and it helped her in the polls briefly. And then it turns out that her position on busing wasn't a whole hell of a lot different than his. When people found out, like, well, okay, but you're not all that different than he is, that's when it kind of fell apart.
Her campaign was kind of floundering. People started to say, okay, well, what does she actually feel about issues? What is her actual agenda as president? It was entirely unclear.
For all the excitement she has, it starts to fizzle because she fundamentally does have trouble defining herself. She's not an ideological person, and in a primary campaign, people want to know what your ideology is because you're choosing among Democrats. So, you know, everybody knows Bernie Sanders stands here, Elizabeth Warren stands here, Biden stands here, Pete Buttigieg stands here. Where is she? And they don't know. And she doesn't do a good job of defining that, and she seems to be unsure of where she is.
The campaign collapsed even before the first caucus in Iowa.
It was a huge disappointment because she's not a quitter, she's a fighter. That may have been the only race of any kind that I know of that she did not finish and did not win.
Then a stunning lifeline from the most unlikely person.
My fellow Americans, now let me introduce to you your next Vice President of the United States, Kamala Harris. Kamala?
One of the themes of Biden's campaign is that America needs to mend its wounds. America can't be caught up in grievances. You could see that as an advantage for Harris. Somebody whose biggest political moment in the campaign was a direct hit on him, and he chooses her and says, look, we can get over this.
I am incredibly honored by this responsibility, and I'm ready to get to work. I am ready to get to work.
The Fox News decision desk can now project that former Vice President Joe Biden will win Pennsylvania and Nevada.
He is President-elect Joseph Robinette Biden.
Joseph
after a
Robinette
first term in
Biden, President-elect.
Office is a unique thing that doesn't happen that often. There was one moment where in this period, he was watching Joe Biden on TV and says, "Can you believe I lost to this blank guy?"
Publicly, Donald Trump refused to concede the loss. He would exercise his power to fight it.
And he said,
I won the election.
He knows he lost.
Donald Trump is simply being consistent.
Most fraudulent election in history.
He's simply being what he's always been.
Yeah.
He's always believed that what the rest of the world sees as a loss can be marketed as a win.
This election was a total fraud. And they did these massive dumps of votes. And all of a sudden, I went from winning by a lot to losing by a little.
Donald Trump was personally orchestrating the actual campaign to overturn the election.
You will find tens of thousands of false ballots, forged ballots. You'll
The
see.
fake electors scheme. That shit was wild too.
He was making videos.
You can press a button for Trump, and the vote goes to Biden. What kind of a system is this?
But he was also literally working the phones.
Arizona House Speaker Rusty Bowers described at least 2 phone calls from the former president as
pressuring state election officials in Arizona.
In a series of calls after the election, Trump demanded Bowers throw out the electoral votes won by Joe Biden
and Georgia.
I just want to find 11,780 votes. Fellas, I need 11,000 votes. Give me a break.
But Trump's efforts would continually fail.
In the courts where evidence gets scrutinized, authenticated, and tested, they're getting hammered.
More than 60 lawsuits were unsuccessful in court.
All but now ending the president's attempt to reverse his election loss.
Even many of his senior staff told him the claims had no merit, including his own attorney general.
And then he got
He
fired.
was told time and time again that he did not win the election. Not by Democrats, not by the media, but by his own people.
Unwilling to accept defeat, he made one final attempt.
People told him, "You're going to have a second bite of the apple on January 6th. That was a date by which the Congress is going to vote to certify what the state electors did.
Donald Trump issued a tweet saying, "All of my supporters come to Washington for this rally on January 6th."
Statistically impossible to have lost the 2020 election. Big protest in D.C. on January 6th. Be there. Will be wild.
Will be wild. He wanted a show of force to come to Washington and to try to block the certification of Congress.
And we fight. We fight like hell.
Fight for your country? No. Fight for your Trump? Yes. Your Trump. Fight for Trump. They're saying fight for Trump, bro.
And if you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country anymore.
He wanted, in whatever way he could, to empower people to disrupt Congress. And if that resulted in violence, he obviously was prepared to let that happen.
January 6th, at its core, is the ultimate expression of Trump's belief that he can never acknowledge a loss. You can't lose because you appear to be a loser, and then people won't follow you. It's this very simplistic thing, but it's like his, I mean, that is the motto of Trump's life.
He watched these people sacking the U.S. Capitol, overrunning police, beating them with the American flag. To just sit there and watch it on television, just inexplicable. So either he was able to delude himself that he had actually won, or he simply didn't care that he had lost, that he wanted to keep power.
Yeah, it's the latter, definitely it's the latter. I have lots of soul runes, I should do something with them. I have a decent amount of chipped sapphires too. 2 of them, but... Alright, what else? I have some rubies too, nice. Some emeralds. Shale, 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 bull. And let's take a look. Yeah, okay. Chipped emerald. I have those. Heldren. Simple as that. Not sure what I'll do with this thing. I'll put it there, yeah, fuck it.
Eventually, police regained control of the Capitol.
The Capitol grounds have been secure. Police had to use tear gas. Troops are deployed around the Capitol perimeter to prevent any more violence.
The violent insurrection hadn't worked.
I, Joseph Robinette Biden Jr., do solemnly swear.
Refusing to attend Biden's inauguration, he left Washington on Air Force One.
Congratulations, Mr. President.
There's a certain Napoleon element to Donald Trump's evacuation from Washington to his private club in Palm Beach. It's almost like he's returning to nurse his wounds and continue to live in that alternate reality where he won the election, it was unfairly taken from him, and he's still the president.
Trump is not a defeated, vanquished president as he sees it. Mar-a-Lago at this point is Elba. This is where he has gone to live his exile and plot his return. He's plotting his comeback.
I, Kamala Davy Harris, do solemnly swear.
Kamala Harris entered the vice presidency with high expectations.
So help me God.
So help me God.
But she was still new to the ways of Washington.
She's somebody who just 10 years before had been the district attorney in San Francisco.
She'd been in the United States Senate, of course, but she was barely there for, 2+ years before the presidential campaign cycle began. So here you are assuming office as vice president, where you're not very far removed from local government in California.
She would try to learn what she could from one of Washington's most established politicians, Joe Biden.
They started to spend a lot of time together. So she was really shadowing the president. They were together every morning in the presidential briefings, was standing next to him when he would sign bills. She was almost at every decision table, was the last one in the room. She was learning the job day one. I mean, that was the aim and the goal, is to stick with the president and learn as much as you possibly can about the job.
And soon, the new vice president would receive her first major assignment: go to a key source of the border crisis, Guatemala.
Joe Biden tasks her with, in his mind, what he did as vice president, which is liaising with countries in Central America that sent a lot of the migrants to the U.S.
The stakes are massive because this is her first trip abroad as the vice president. Every network is sending somebody with her. And trust me, I've covered other vice presidents, and sometimes they're begging reporters to come on these foreign trips.
But even in her carefully scripted remarks, controversy.
I want to be clear to folks in this region who are thinking about making that dangerous trek to the United States-Mexico border.
Oh, this one.
Do not come. Do not come.
The child of 2 immigrants, and all of a sudden she's, on this trip to Guatemala and saying, don't come to prospective migrants. The excitement that people had around her starts to shift, particularly on the left.
Then, in a high-stakes major network interview, it got worse.
Okay. Do you have any plans to visit the border?
I'm here in Guatemala today. At some point, we are going to the border. We've been to the border. So this whole thing about the border, we've been to the border.
She says that she's been to the border when Lester Holt asks, which is not true. It escalates very quickly into something strange and defensive and just an all-around kind of catastrophic viewing experience.
We've been to the border.
You haven't been to the border.
And I haven't been to Europe. And I don't understand the point that you're making. I'm not.
She lets the prosecutor, sort of acerbic-witted version of Kamala Harris, comes out, and she says, I haven't been to Europe either. What's the big deal? And it just becomes this blow-up moment back home.
Kamala Harris was never and is still not ready for prime time. She is not ready for serious governance, the serious responsibility.
She doesn't know anything. She doesn't know how to learn anything. She is inarticulate.
Oh God. She's not classy. She's a thug, as they say. Right? These fucking assholes. Classy. Articulate. Oh Jesus Christ, I'm dying. This fucking character has no survivability, I swear to God. I'm dead. I'm fucking dead. Wait. Why you die, bitch?
And she's not sure what the big words mean anyway.
It's sort of what happens in Washington, especially when you're a woman. If you have a misstep, people hyper-focus on it. And then they hang it around your neck like an albatross.
Selecting a VP based solely on diversity criteria, not objective merit, is not only stupid, it's...
Oh god, says that fucking blonde chick.
It's really dangerous.
All of the doubts that people had had about her already, about Black women, you know, diversity, equity, inclusion, it kind of all came to a head in that moment.
This is what happens when you choose your...
I cannot listen to these fucking dipshits. Sorry.
Kamala
Fox News down fucks.
Harris's reaction was essentially to recede from public view. For the rest of that year, you see this risk aversion coming into play pretty prominently. It was a quite expansive darkness. She was very concerned that she was going to jeopardize the success of the administration if she continued to put herself out there publicly.
Out of the spotlight, Harris fought to revive her political career.
She's not ever going to be the kind of lofty orator that some people want her to be, but she's learned how to find her strengths, you know, how to gravitate toward the things where she's really good and do more of them.
Good to be back in South Carolina.
Retail politics. Small groups in small towns all over America.
I saw her getting much more comfortable on the stump. She was exactly where she needed to be, out of the Beltway and in the country.
You see her recalibrating, trying to learn from her mistakes. You want to be as precise and as targeted in your comeback as you can be.
And when an issue of national importance arrived, she was primed to jump back into the fray.
Tonight, the unprecedented leak. The Supreme Court appears poised to overturn Roe versus Wade.
The Supreme Court has privately voted to strike down the landmark Roe versus Wade decision from 49 years ago.
The day the Dobbs decision leaked was a very intense day. At the same time, we had a speech that she had to give at Emily's List, which is an organization to help Democratic women get elected into office.
Please have a seat. Good evening.
It was another opportunity where she ripped up her planned speech, started from scratch, and just spoke from her heart.
Well, we say, how dare they? How dare they tell a woman what she can do and cannot do with her own body? How dare they? How dare they try to stop her from determining her own future? How dare they try to deny women their rights and their freedoms?
She completely came into her own. But more than anything, she was talking about something and this really animates her more than anything, that has a profound effect on people across the United States, in this case, women. And she's ultimately a fighter, and when she gets in fighting mode, watch out.
So to all here I say, let us fight for our country with everything we have got. God bless you and God bless America.
An historic day here in Washington. A federal grand jury here has indicted former President Donald Trump.
In those years after his presidency, Donald Trump's past seemed to be catching up to him.
He will now head to appear in federal court for the arraignment. And this was not quite the return to Washington this former president had envisioned for himself.
In Georgia and Washington, D.C., charged with felonies for his attempts to overturn the election.
The former president is charged with leading a criminal organization that worked to overturn the results.
Trump is facing over 700 years in jail if convicted on all charges.
He already lost multiple civil trials.
Found Trump liable for sexually abusing and defaming Carol.
That found him liable for sexual abuse, business fraud. His business was convicted in criminal court of tax and other financial crimes.
Trump guilty on all 34 counts of falsifying business records in the Stormy Daniels hush money case.
Trump now faces the possibility of jail time after he was found guilty of all 34.
All of these things have happened since he left office.
President Trump.
Donald Trump is not just fighting for his long-held belief that he's a winner. He is not just fighting to prove to his father, to the naysayers, that he is stronger than they are. He is fighting for his freedom. Winning the presidency is equal to staying out of jail. And so there is nothing more important to him.
President Trump officially clinching the Republican nomination for president. Donald Trump securing the Republican nomination in commanding fashion.
There's an energy and an indefatigability to Donald Trump that is kind of off the scale. It is remarkable that he is so relentless in pursuing the vindication or the power that he's seeking. He keeps going after it.
Donald Trump fought on, even in the face of a would-be assassin's bullet.
Just said, take a look at what happened.
Ouch, ouch, my ear.
Here he is in perhaps his single greatest moment of public vulnerability.
Nah.
And clearly there's shock and clearly there's pain. Donald Trump.
Like this whole, the first assassination was just so weird to me. I still can't get over it. The second one, even more so. There's something so off about them. We'll see.
Since his childhood, has taken enormous pride in his toughness, and his instincts are always to present himself as someone who people will aspire to be like.
So instead of...
And then there he is, standing up.
Making a fist for an entire minute. Okay. Wow, I'm very inspired. I very much want to be like this fucking retard. Oh god, I died again. Yeah, this fucking bill is dog shit. Is there really no other bar build? I'm starting to hate this fucking build. It can't just be Berserk, right? It just can't be Berserk. Oh shit, what? Oh, I should probably save an exit then.
And the fist goes up, and you see him mouthing the words, fight, fight.
Oh man, I'm tired. So why Berserk, man? Why does it have to be Berserk? Cause I fucking hate this shit. Why not Frenzy instead? Like that shit makes more sense to me, I don't know. Yeah, Bart doesn't have a lot of options here. Or anywhere, really. Atrocious density farmer for sure. I hate this build. There's something I'm missing. There has to be something I'm missing here. Along with additional fire resistance, fire absorb for farming Travinso. So I'm gonna put 8 more points there. Oh god. Not 8. More than that. Huh. So defense is entirely worthless. What then the fuck do I do? So I can reduce physical damage even further. Or elemental. I guess I'll have to go with elemental damage reduction. I can Larzuk this thing, no? Doesn't seem to be a bad idea actually. Has a lot of enhanced damage on it too. Why not Larzuk it, yeah? Like, what would I miss out on if I were to Larzuk this thing? Let's see. Word Explorer, Basis, and Paladin Shields. Let's just do that. Shove all of them. I mean, yeah, I can't risk this one. Sanctuary seems fine, but yeah, I can't risk it at all. But then again, I need the elemental resist. But there's also exile if I want that. Oh yeah, true. But oh man, it requires a fucking ohm. What does exile do exactly? Defiance aura. The fuck's defiance? Okay, aura is a paladin thing. Correct. But this one provides no elemental resist. Which, yeah, is not good. There's the Ancient's Pledge. I guess his Spirit Shield makes some sense. There's also Rhyme. Like, there has to be more survivability to this build. Storm Shield is a great idea, actually. And I should have it somewhere. I don't know where.
Not here.
But somewhere. Let's see, maybe my Sronya has it. My Sorcerer's Jar. Nope. Not here. I don't know where I even keep that thing. Probably on one of my Fentanyl charts. Okay, it's not this Fentanyl chart. Maybe it's on Fent, the classic. Nope, not here. I have a 4-socket Dusk Shroud though. Where did I put that shield? Oh, I must have traded it. I must have, yeah. I have some decent bases though. Well, kind of decent. There's the Rhyme. I'm not spending a low rune on this shit. Hell no. I got 2 core runes. Yeah, Sanctuary seems okay.
Yeah, I need a base. A rhyme base would be so godly. That means I'll need a Maldron, which shouldn't be that hard to get. Yeah, she doesn't have much. Yeah, this is pretty much the closest thing I have. Which, yeah, isn't much. This one cannot be frozen, which is insane to me, actually. So I can do Shale F on this thing. Potentially, yeah. Rhyme. It's not the best. Not even close. So what does Berserk do exactly, right? Okay, let's do Shale F. Shale and F. Wait, where's the fucking F? Oh, there it is. Boom. Rhyme. Would I say this is mediocre? Definitely, this is fucking mediocre. Well, I guess Lars looking that one makes the most sense. Oh shit, wrong char. I wish the loading screens were a bit faster. Yeah, it's a fucking Lars look time. Crown shield, right? Let me see the base items here. Wait, this is just the crown shield? Basic one? Not even a vortex? I mean, I don't need the defense, so doesn't matter. Oh, this is paladin only, you can't equip it. Oh, I'm retarded. Well, in that case, I have no options. What was I thinking? I think it was on Fent number 2, yeah. Yeah, right, makes sense. I'll keep it. Let's see if Ryan fixes anything. And I doubt it will. Wait, what? Oh. No. The fuck? So this doesn't fix shit. In fact, it's kind of makes things worse. And I still need the dexterity. There has to be a better option to get dexterity. Oh, there's this thing. Nice. Oh, my average chance to block is nice. Poison res. It's still not enough. I need a bit more dexterity there. Which I can fix, actually. Quite fast, too. You'll see. Was it Cross Bazaar? Was it Upper Crest? I don't fucking remember. Hold on. Important quests. Yep. The Ruined Temple in Cross Bazaar. Okay. Oh shit, this is just wrong. Yeah, fight. Wait. Why you die, bitch? Okay, I'm blocking some attacks. This thing's actually proving to be worthwhile.
I need mana.
Except, you know, I don't have mana. Because I need to get my companion back.
Hello. Good day.
What can I do for you?
Drone tempo. Oh shit. This motherfucker barely takes any damage. Oh, immune to magic, I see. Just die, you fucking bum. Boneheart the Hungry. What kind of fucking name is that? All these assholes are immune to magic. This field is very hyper-focused on specific places. It's not good. I can't find... Oh, right, he's right here. Let's get it and move on. My damage dealing ability took a hit too. Right, what do I do with this? Alcor. Okay.
May this book lift the shadow from Karrast.
Alright, that's good enough. I can probably get that elemental resist amulet and make this build work, hopefully. Oh wait, I didn't even have to do that. Whatever. And that almost maxes out my elemental resist. Nice. Which could potentially mean that I can move this, right? Hold on, hold on. Nothing's over yet. I'll fix this. Oh wait, I didn't know this would provide attack rating. That's nice. Okay, fine, I'll get that back. Yeah, my average chance to hit is quite low. my fucking mind. Shit's so tiresome. This bill sucks. I forgot something. My idiot companion who keeps dying somehow.
Greetings.
Ooh, nice.
I can't.
Probably the rock face, but that's still fine. I'll take it. Oh shit. That works. Nice.
I can't.
Oh, this place is it. Nice.
It's locked.
Yep, rock face. Wait, another one of these? Or... Huh. It's for paladins.
unburdened.
What can I do for you?
Good day.
Not here. Maybe now the world will have peace. Oh. Not here. I am overburdened. Greetings. Good day. The top.